I pretty much wanted to opt out of the fun facts because it seems like that everyone at Florida State is opting out. So
Well played.
mostly because this is the first time I'd opened my computer in probably like a week.
I mean, to be
So
fair, you thought I might opt out of the episode. So, welcome to My God a Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's matchup with Florida State in the Orange Bowl. We talk through what we're looking for in the game, and we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out the newly redesigned MyGottaPodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, we'd love for you to check out our presenting sponsor, Oxia Time, at oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. All right, coming in hot, right before, little late in the week. My bad.
yeah, golly, dude, you and everybody else getting sick.
Yeah. Christmas was an adventure.
Man, it's been an adventure for a lot of folks. I feel like if you're not like coughing or have the flu or had the flu, I feel like that I'm counting my lucky stars. I'm about to pour some preventative cough syrup myself.
Nice. I saw what you have. I saw, was it the old granddad 114?
I do. I have the old granddad 114.
Well,
Grandpa's old cough syrup.
I was gonna say that will keep it away. I think that's my problem. Like I didn't have bourbon on Christmas Eve, and I think that messed everything up. So I also have a 114 proof. So shout out to Ponda and Crip Dog. This was one of my Christmas gifts from them. So this is the Weller Foolproof. So I figured maybe Weller Foolproof will finish off what's left of this cold that I have.
That's the good stuff right there, man.
Hey man, it's a New Year's Six bowl. Better never rest. Keep the main thing the main thing. Thought I'd treat the Orange Bowl right.
Keep the proofs full.
Keep the proofs full. Run the dang bourbon though.
Yes. Yeah, seriously. Hey, cheers, man. Hope you guys had a Merry Christmas.
Likewise. Cheers to you, buddy. First time talking since the Christmas regale. Is it regale or regale? I realized that after I put the episode out, I was like, did I say that right? I don't think I said that right. What is one? I don't even know what one is.
I believe I was trying to figure out, like, am I dumb or is he just way smarter than I am?
I don't know what it
is. So I always thought it was regalia, like the Christmas regalia or something.
It may be. I need to go look it up. I need to go look it up again because John, not you, John tweets, John Smith said it. I don't even remember when he said it because when I went back and edited the episode, it wasn't there. So it was either before or after, which both were wild. I kind of wish that the post episode was part of the episode, even though I know it would insanely way too long. But when Chris Marlar hops into your post show banter, it gets wild. That was hilarious. But anyways, it came up at some point there, and then I looked it up. I found the spelling, so I found Christmas regale as a thing somewhere. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
Regale as a thing.
Apparently, I found it on the internet. It could have been someone had a typo. But
you read it on the internet.
It must be true. It must be true. But hey, what a way to kick off our 150th episode. So this is the 150th episode of My God a Podcast, the Orange Bowl preview.
Yeah, 150. Who'd have thought?
Not I.
We're still around kicking.
From the random text message the week of the first game, 2020. Hey, let's do a podcast. Right. We made it. We made it this far. Oh man. But yeah, so I'm glad you made it through healthy through your travels. Man, and like we didn't, we traveled, but we went to my parents' house on en route. So stopped, spent a day with them. Had the coconut cake, which I posted on the socials as well. It was fantastic. Great meal. So got to do Christmas with them. and then went over and spent with Kim's family the next few days at her sister's house, which unfortunately is where I got sick. So I kind of spent most of the time like in the bedroom sleeping, trying to stay away from everyone. So that kind of stunk. But and as you know, I texted you I texted you Christmas, the day after Christmas, like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. I definitely couldn't have done it yesterday. So thanks for being patient and waiting a day for me.
No worries, man. No worries. It's like I said, it's just one of those things that you just gotta get through it with the sicknesses.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, man, I can already tell this Weller Foolproof is doing his job.
Yeah, dude, that's not for the faint of heart.
No, no, it is good. It is good. All right.
So we got
Well,
a football game. We got a
we've got
football
a
game
football
coming
game.
up.
We've
We're
got a
we're, we're
football game.
it's I feel like it's been a hot minute. There's been a lot that's going on. I'm sure you're gonna give us a bit of a rundown, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do some of it. I feel like there's too much to go through everything, but let's do a couple of things. So we can just start with the general matchup stuff. So December 30th. So normal Saturday schedule. Just like a normal week actually. So but kickoffs at 4 o'clock on ESPN at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens. This is something I learned while planning the trip because I am going. I'm taking Lily. Lily and I are going to the game. And I learned that Hard Rock Stadium is not in Miami. Technically, it's in Miami Gardens, a little north. It's kind of like in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Um, so dogs obviously come in, obviously 12-1 on the season. Florida State is 13-0. In the CFP rankings, Georgia is 6, Florida State is 5. The TV play-by-play is going to be Joe Tessitore. Jesse Palmer, the former Bachelor and Gator quarterback, is the analyst, and Katie George is a sideline reporter. The official hashtag that we will be sure to use is hashtag Orange Bowl. And then the history, which we'll get into a little bit more about later, but the series history, Georgia leads that 6-4-1 all time. And the last meeting was that January 1, 2003 Sugar Bowl that we talked about on the last episode. I know Coach Trill wanted to make sure we included that. So that was a 26-13 win by the Dogs. As far as the weather, it's going to be low of 51 early in the morning, but it should be up to 60 degrees by 10:30. High of 66 at kickoff at 4. It's going to drop back down to like 58 by 8 o'clock. So should be pretty nice weather actually at the game. But yeah. And then I got a few other things in the news and notes we could hit a little bit later, but I'll yield to you if you've got any fun facts, and then you can lead us through Hasty's Hargreed as well.
I pretty much wanted to opt out of the fun facts because it seems like that everyone at Florida State is opting out. So.
Well played.
Mostly because this is the first time I'd opened my computer in probably like a week.
I mean, to be fair, you thought I might opt out of the episode. So
yeah. Jim was opting out the Florida State preview. Oh man. I didn't want to. I don't think we wanted to pull any punches on this one, but we definitely thought about it. Let's see. All right. So fun facts. All right. So Florida State, we do have a pretty amazing Hasty's Hargreaves history. But I feel like that this is like, Florida State is such an old school that there is a lot wrapped up in what they've offered to the country, or, from an education standpoint. They're kind of known as like the poor man's Ivy League down here. Like it's like a like I said, poor man's Ivy League school. So but they were ranked recently as like one of the top 20 public schools in the country. So they're known for their education, ironically, being in Florida. They're actually the oldest school in the state of Florida. They're actually older than the University of Florida. And they very much like us refer to them as like that school in Gainesville.
right.
Yeah, so they started in 1851. That's when they started. Florida State's had 9 names. in
It's
their
ridiculous.
history, which is kind of bonkers. Like the math isn't mathing on how long, how often that would have to change, you
Right.
know?
Seriously.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you a brief rundown. I don't have full names. Again, I almost opted out of the fun facts. Um, at one point, it was a military institute, a seminary. It was at one point called the University of Florida.
Amazing. Wait, is that who we beat that one time when they said, no, just kidding.
Well, we could just tell Florida fans that they can't even claim the University of Florida like as an original name.
Seriously.
Let's see. They for the first half of the 20th century, they were known as they were known as Florida Female.
Okay.
And then Florida State College for Women.
Okay.
The college was at times all male co-ed and then all female in 1905 and then back to co-ed in 1948.
Interesting.
So there's been a lot of flip-flopping of the names and what the makeup of this university is. But
Yeah.
here it stands today, Florida State University.
Got it. Okay.
Let's see here. There's definitely a laundry list of famous alumni. You know, I have a couple that I'm going to hold back on,
Mhm.
but some notable names that you will recognize: Jim Morrison of the Doors,
Nice.
Richard Simmons of famous exercise guru from the 80s.
Amazing.
Kids, if you don't know who we're talking about, ask your parents. Uh,
YouTube. YouTube.
yes. Also, famous Deion Sanders. Famous these days for being head coach at the University of Colorado, but Deion, prime time, went to Florida State. And actually, it's kind of timely. But you know, Jim, one of my favorite Christmas movies is Christmas Vacation,
Mhm.
and Faye Dunaway is an alumnus of Florida State.
I did not know that. Oh, that's a good one. Very good.
Yes. Again, a timely for the I don't know if your family is like mine. We watch Christmas Vacation quite often during the holidays.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, we do. I love it. And like when I come across it and it's on TV, which it often is, I just sit there and watch it like I've never seen it before. It's one of
Right.
those.
Yes. No, it's like I can watch it over and over again. Let's see here. I had some other, what was the other ones that I had? From the business world, some of you may be familiar with Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. If you've never heard of it, your wife's probably has. But yeah, so that's a quick rundown. I do have, like I said, I do have a couple of other ones that I'm gonna hold for Jason Hasty's part of
Okay.
history.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a long laundry list of folks. But those are just a quick rundown.
Nice.
Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, I knew that there was one. I knew there was one particular fun fact that I had not said yet. Um, did you, Jim, is there anything that you know about Florida State?
All right. So the only thing I can think of, and this is the kind of thing like I heard and I think is true. Like, don't they like have a clown school?
Nailed it.
Yes.
Jim, you nailed it. Like finally, we
Oh.
have an opponent that is Clown College. Like, where is Wise Dog and how has he not tweeted about this already? Like, they literally have a clown college at the university or Florida State University.
How has Dan Mullen
Um,
not been their head coach ever? I'm just saying.
yes, so they actually have an entire student circus. So you can take an introduction to circus course, where you can learn the basics of juggling, walking on the high wire, aerial ballet, and ringing to introduce the circus. But
Okay.
yeah, Florida State University Circus. They actually host shows under their own big top tent. And they direct what's referred to as the Flying High Circus Camp for children. But yeah,
Nice.
the FSU Flying High Circus.
Yeah, that is amazing. I prefer to say clown college, but whatever.
It's Clown College. Yeah,
To each their own.
this is exactly correct. So
Uh,
being that they were originally the University of Florida, that was one of their original names. Like we can safely say that the University of Florida is a clown college.
I think it's fair. It's fair. It's there. We piece it together.
Using the transitive property that we love to use.
Uh,
But yeah, that's the gist of what I've got right now.
okay. Okay. Love it. I will attempt to organize the visual aids that we have from Jason for the hasty stuff.
Okay. Jim's gonna man the visuals. I don't really have any like direction that I would give other than to say that maybe
That's
we'll
okay.
do the first two people that we were
I'll pull
referring
them
to.
up when you get to them. I think I've got it in order.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is Jason Hasty's Hergret History from My Got a Podcast, Florida State Edition. Jason writes, I've always thought it unusual that two of the traditional Southern powerhouse football schools have only played each other 11 times, and 9 of those meetings took place between 1954 and 1965. Certainly, if FSU had joined the SEC in 1992, this history would be much different. But as it stands, there are a couple of curiosities from a few games between the schools. Georgia beat Florida State in Tallahassee in 1954 and 1955. 2 players on those Florida State teams that lost to the Bulldogs would go on to immense amounts of fame in their respective fields. And I believe that, Jim, you're showing a program cover from that game, which maybe the Clown College makes a lot more sense now, given that they've got a bunch of balloons on this one.
Amazing. Oh,
Yeah, it's definitely giving me Clown College vibes.
100%. 100%.
Okay. Do you want to go to the next image?
I'll go when you say this person's name.
Okay. Lee Corso, another famous alumnus of Florida State University. Lee Corso, a 5'11", 165-pound halfback from Miami, was nicknamed the Sunshine Scooter and was a star for the Seminoles. All college football fans are very familiar with Lee Corso, but it should be noted that he wore an actual football helmet during the games and not a mascot's headgear. And I think that
Amazing.
you've got his image up there right now for the folks that are on the YouTubes.
It's incredible because like it's clearly him, but like holy cow, he's so young. It's great.
Yeah, dude. Like, yeah, I think that it's pretty amazing. Oh, you know what? I didn't notice this. Why does that name look familiar? Ron Schaumburger. Okay. For some reason, that name looks really familiar too. Anyway, the thing that one thing that I want to I'll press pause on here is that nickname, the Sunshine Scooter. Jim, were you ever a big proponent of or a big fan of playing the EA Sports NCAA college football video game?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I played it many times and much older versions, like 97, 98, 99.
Right. So if you played that game during that time frame that it was available, Lee Corso basically was on every single one. And there was a line that he used to say over all the time if you broke off a long run. He would talk about how fast, or Brad Nessler would talk about how fast the person was.
Yes.
And then he would say, he would talk to Corso about how, yeah, you used to run really quick or whatever back in the day. And he'd be like, that's right. I was Sunshine Scooter.
I do.
They called me Sunshine Scooter.
That was all over that game. I do remember that.
Yeah. So I knew that he was called Sunshine Scooter like long before.
Yes.
I'd ever seen him on TV.
For sure. And I that's the kind of thing, like I knew that, but I hadn't thought about that in a long time.
Yes. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so we were talking about 54, 55. All right. Also on FSU's roster in 1954 and 1955, but certainly not a star, was a little used 5'10", 180-pound halfback that went by the name Buddy Reynolds from West Palm Beach. Shout out Gran and Papa. That's where my grandparents live. Buddy would eventually leave the Seminoles team to rehab an injury, and while away from football, he would discover acting. Dropping his nickname Buddy, Burt Reynolds would find international fame in the movies and television. And I believe that you are showcasing the program that highlights that young man on the bottom right
Yes,
is what we're looking for.
young Buddy Reynolds down there in the corner.
Yeah. Look at him, man. He's got like a very distinct hairstyle, I feel like, too.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what's going on with that. He definitely does.
Like it looks like he's got a couple of slits on the side too. Like
Right,
he was ahead of his time.
Uh,
The man was ahead of his time.
Also, teammate Bill Proctor, Fletcher. We got to know if this is a relative. Sorry, continue.
Any relation? Okay. All right. So the 1984 Citrus Bowl was the only meeting between coaching legends Vince Dooley and Bobby Bowden. So we fast forwarded, right?
Yeah.
Georgia and FSU were each going through rebuilding years in 1984. Georgia was replacing most of its senior class that had gone 43-4-1 from 1980 to 1983. Florida State had brought in Mickey Andrews after the 1983 season to rebuild a disappointing defense. Georgia was 7-4 and Florida State was 7-3-1 back in the day when we used to allow ties. When they met in the Citrus Bowl on December 22nd, 1984, with the game tied 17-17 in the last seconds of the fourth quarter, Coach Dooley had place kicker Kevin Butler attempt a 70, you heard that right, a 70-yard field goal that just barely missed. Had he made it, it would still be the record for the longest ever field goal in either college or pro football. And I can only imagine what that must have sounded like, because you and I, after Jason sent this document, you and I were discussing on what the Munson call for that would have been.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had a bit of a back and forth on was Munson there, because we know in like the January 1st, 81 Sugar Bowl, for example, against Notre Dame, you've never heard of Munson called that game because he wasn't there. But we did learn from Patrick Garvin, because he put out a video with a few different clips from that game, not of the field goal attempt, but Munson was there. So we definitely we need to put glasses on it. We'll see if we can get a hold of that audio. Haven't been able to find it yet, but I imagine it's out there.
Yeah, we need to get Patrick, we need to get that video uploaded to YouTube or something. Because I just got to hear what he had to say about us lining up to kick a 70-yard field goal. This is under the umbrella of, we already know that he's been quoted as saying, we're gonna kick it 1,000 miles.
Exactly. And the crazy thing was like how mad Butler was when he missed it, this field goal.
Yeah.
Like, he was so mad.
I think, didn't Jason say that like there was like a gust of wind that like kicked up like right after he had kicked it or something like that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It looked good.
It was so close.
Yeah, we found the YouTube video, and like I know the TV announcers, like one of them was like, "Are you kidding me?" Because like he thought it was going to go
in. Yes. Oh man. We need to tweet that YouTube video out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll find it. We've got it in the email thread with Jason.
But yeah, so 11 times for them being, a fairly old school in the South.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's the flip-flopping between a women's school and clown college. Like maybe that's why we haven't played them that much.
Could be. Definitely possible.
I guess I should. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that they are known as the Seminoles. They do have a mascot. And Actually, he's actually not a mascot. He is
Mm.
he's not an official mascot, I don't believe. Where was the note that I had on that? I totally blanked on that. Yeah. Yeah, Florida State does not actually have a formal mascot. They have a dedicated partnership with the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and they display all of the symbols and ceremonies to honor the experiences and traditions of the local Native American tribes. And everything that they showcase
Hmm.
has been approved by the Seminole Tribe.
Yeah.
Their unofficial mascots are Osceola and Renegade. Osceola is the Seminole leader, and Appaloosa, and he has an Appaloosa horse named Renegade. But they introduced those. That's the guy that rides on the horse, and they do this. They do the spike that's on fire at midfield.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is cool. I'm curious. I wonder if they'll do that. Can they do that in a bowl game? I'll report back. I'll be there.
I believe that they do, right?
Did
Like,
did
don't.
did you go to the Sugar Bowl in in '02 at the end of '02?
Wait, was that the one? I did go to a Sugar Bowl that was in Atlanta.
No, not the
Uh,
no, when we played Florida State
okay,
in the
no,
one in New
no.
Orleans. Okay, because that was I think that was I guess that was like your sophomore year because that was like my last semester of college. I can't remember whether they did that or not. I mean, that was indoors. I don't know. I don't think you can throw the spike into like AstroTurf.
They have a modified version.
Yeah. So
Um, but yeah, so Osceola and Renegade debuted in 1978, and FSU has tried to ensure a dignified depiction of Osceola. The portrayal is supported by, it's supported by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. So that is a prime example of how things have been able to stay on the rails with tradition and etc.
mhm.
And should not be changed. So like, when you have all this talk about changing all the Atlanta Braves and the Washington Redskins, all those kinds of things, like, I mean, the Braves are kind of in the same boat. They've got approval from the various Native American tribes to use their depictions. So
I know
anyway,
you know the hooked on helmets guy. You follow that guy right on TikTok,
I
or you've
don't.
seen
Oh,
you've seen his
the guy
videos
that yeah, 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 the guy that does the videos.
because he did whatever we're gonna call him, Commanders, Redskins, Washington football team. He did their helmet history recently, but he brought up there's actually like a petition to bring the Redskins back now. So I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But yeah, I used to work with a bunch of guys that went to Florida State, and so I was familiar with the whole approval from the tribe, from the Seminole tribe. They used to talk about that a lot. So
Yeah.
good stuff. Good stuff. All right, I'll do some brief news and notes. Um, the first one I'm going to do in sound. I'm going to use the soundboard for this one.
Mackay Muse.
Oh, the unofficial official receiver of My Guide Podcast has entered the transfer portal and had probably done so before our last episode, but we didn't talk about it. So just had to acknowledge it. We wish you the best, Mackay. I know he's gotten several offers. I just hope he doesn't go to Georgia Tech.
He's going to end up at Kentucky. It's going to be
with
University of Georgia North.
oh my gosh, seriously, you got Brock Vandegrift, you've got Jamon Dumas Johnson, which I think I would say is probably the biggest surprise of
Yeah.
names hit the portal. So many others. I'm not going to go through the whole list. I will say a couple of guys that there were rumblings about that at least are not in there yet. I mean, I don't know, but Julian Humphrey, a lot of folks had talked about him, and then we keep hearing these like Michael Williams rumors, which he spoke to a little bit in the media, but I don't know. Those guys they're still around, so we'll see. We'll see where that leads. It's just kind of part of the way everything works now, I guess.
They haven't gone anywhere. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, we got a lot of guys coming in from the portal as well. You got, London Humphrey, coming in from Vanderbilt. He was the guy that scored that first touchdown against us. We know Trey's excited about him.
The continuation of exciting whites.
But yeah, I don't know. Many more. But I like what we're doing. Man, shoot, Etienne. That was a big one. So, I don't know. I think the Dogs are doing pretty well. Number one recruiting class. So overall, I think we're looking good. Looking good.
Number one recruiting class, and we just keep adding, feathers into our cap, if you will.
Exactly. Not great news. At least I seem to have maybe had like a 48-hour-ish bug, and I'm still coughing, but I feel a lot better. Stacy Searles is back home in Athens, like in the hospital with pneumonia, according to Anthony Dasher. But full recovery expected, thankfully. But crazy. Get well soon, Coach Searles. Your buddy, John.
My buddy he's missing in action. I'm curious. I'll be curious to see how that plays out on the bowl game. So I wonder, it's I guess, who's the next man up in that situation?
That's a great question. I don't know. I'm assuming there's like an analyst or grad assistant or something that steps in there, I guess. Or I don't know. Todd Hartley, maybe. I don't know.
Ooh, that would be interesting to see if Todd Hartley comes down from the booth, but I would imagine that he's going to stay in the booth, right?
I would think so. Who else is going to high five Mike Bobo when he dials up an amazing play?
Shout out Craig.
Oh, good stuff. The only other thing I had for news and notes was I don't know, all the people that are down there were reporting this. Like when the team plane landed and they watched everyone get off the plane, Brock Bowers and Demarius Mims were not spotted getting off the plane, which, both guys, ankle injuries. Brock did not look like himself in the SEC championship game. Mims got hurt in the SEC championship game. So fully understand if neither of those guys are able to go. Also, like, shame on the guy on Twitter who said didn't see Brock Bowers as a quitter or whatever. That was super lame. And everyone appropriately piled on that guy.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
Even more so than the guy that that was yelling about Brock Bowers being how he didn't like the way that Brock Bowers was being used this year. I'm like, what?
That was so epic. I think John actually put it together pretty well. It was like a tale in or a story in 3 parts or whatever. It's like part 1, he tweeted it. Part 2, because it was like, I love Brock Bowers. He's gonna do amazing in the NFL. Just don't like how Georgia used him. And like everyone was already piling on this guy, and he was trying to defend himself in the replies. And then Todd Hartley commented, "What?" And then he deleted the tweet. It was amazing.
Yeah,
so,
and then
I'm not going to give him service of saying who he is. It's not somebody I had never heard of him. So like whatever.
Yeah, never heard of you. I have it on good authority that right after Kirby Smart got off the airplane, yes, folks, it's okay. We're going to be good. Everything's fine. Andrew Smart was in the building.
Yes. Okay. The most important, JP coming through with the most important news and note.
Yes.
Love it.
Once
all
again,
right.
we are all Andrew Smart.
We are all Andrew Smart. Yeah, I love that kid. Okay. Let's see. Let's jump into the game. So Florida State, led by head coach Mike Norvell. A couple of things, just macro before we jump into the offense. So just looking at some of the stats that we like to look at, John. So Georgia when all is said and done was at 2.29 net yards per play. And then Florida State was at 1.74 net yards per play. Another thing that I think really did bite us, I just want to call it out, like Georgia turnover margin we were -1. That's bad. -1 being we had one more giveaway than takeaway for the season. Florida State is +12. So they do pretty good I'm going to say that this way. They did very well in that during the season. But as we get into this, what we're about to talk about, and where I always talk about, here's the featured players. The opt-outs are numerous for these guys. It's crazy. It was like, John, you mentioned it, I don't know, several weeks back when I kind of like quote automated like player stuff in prep.
Mhm.
That did not work for this game. Because like the guys, they're all in the portal or they're gone. So okay, let's start with the offense. So on offense, when Georgia has the ball, so the notable defenders for Florida State. Okay, so the guys that would have been mentioned in my usual stuff, none of them are playing this game. So the leading tackler, the leading interceptor, and the sack leader, none of them are playing in this game. They're the leading tackler in this that's going to play, as far as I know, is senior linebacker Kalen DeLoach. I had seen some reports of him opting out, but he was listed in the depth chart that they released. So I'm going to go with that. He was the second leading tackler on the season, 32 solo tackles, 66 total, 7 sacks, and a pick. So, second leading tackler, still pretty good. As far as interceptions, again, it's their second leading interceptor is playing this game, Greedy Vance Jr. He had 1 interception and then 16 total tackles. Then as far as sacks, again, second leading in sacks is here in this game. Again, Kalen DeLoach, 7 sacks, as I already mentioned. So we'll see. I don't know. Marler had released something. I think he had DeLoach crossed out, like he had opted out. But again, he was on Florida State's depth chart, so I'm going with them there. Their defense throughout this season has been really good. Like they do rank their 14th in the FBS in total yards, 8th in yards passing allowed, 42nd in rushing, but then 6th in points per game, 7th in success rate, 10th in yards per play. And like I said earlier, 17 takeaways. So the defense has been lights out all season. Very good. Just a lot of those guys aren't there. There's more guys. I would say they had less opt-outs on defense than on offense. But again, there's at least those 3 guys I mentioned that are not going to be there. On the flip side with Georgia offense, like the only guy of Georgia's leaders that we're talking about not being in this game is Brock Bowers, which we're assuming. We don't know. But otherwise, we've got our guys. So I don't know. Knowing that, what are you looking to see there?
I mean, honestly, the biggest thing I'm going to be looking to see is who actually plays on our side, because I believe that there's an undercurrent of there's a lot of guys that are there that we've talked about not, potentially playing or not coming or whatever, but they're there. So now the question remains is like, who actually is going to play? Like, is Kendall Milton going to actually play? Is Ladd McConkey going to actually play? Those kinds of things are kind of in my mind. I don't know if there's anybody that's on the bubble or whatever. It'll just be interesting to see. What I'll be looking for is who actually plays on offense. And that said, I don't know that it necessarily is going to matter, because even if we have to put in an entire team of backups, basically, right? Like there's so much talent that's missing on the offensive side of the ball with Florida State that I mean they're down to what, like their 3rd or 4th string quarterback?
3rd. Yeah.
3rd string quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see that ending well.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Not to mention, like, not only are they down to their 3rd string quarterback, but like he just found out a few days ago.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Totally. Agreed. I would say I expect Milton to play, and I'm saying that just from his comment, although it's been weeks now. But it was a few weeks ago, right, where he was like, "Yeah, I'm playing. I'm not going to leave my brothers," something like that. So I don't know. I expect him to play based off that. I do find it interesting though that there is this talk of like people being there but not playing, considering what happened in the Sugar Bowl against Texas, right, in 2018. So you go from 17 playoff team, right, 18 in 18 we lose to Alabama in the SEC championship game. We go to New Year's 6 non-playoff just like this, and we didn't show up, right? Like, and it was reportedly in large part, I don't know, part of the vibe basically is like there are all these guys that had said they weren't going to play, but then like they had already opted out, but they went,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of like a distraction. I don't know if that's the right. I don't know if distraction is the right word, but they weren't there to play, right? They were just there for the trip. And like the following year, same scenario where we lost to LSU, and then we're playing Baylor in the Sugar Bowl, and Kirby basically said like, if you don't want to play, don't come. And then like, and I don't know if that's really it or whatever, but then we waxed Baylor. So it's interesting that we are hearing, because I mean I've seen it too. Like we're hearing those kind of things like, oh, like the silent opt out or whatever. I'm curious to see if that's actually a thing or if the guys that are there are gonna play. I get the
Right.
feeling that it's if you're, I don't know. I kind of feel like Kirby, unless he's I don't know, unless he just has a different mindset than back then, because I feel like he kind of made that shift, but who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point about it. Like, he's not bringing people that don't want to play. And frankly, that's a microcosm of the overall program, right? If you
Yeah,
don't want
exactly.
to be here, don't stay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of that is I feel like that this year in particular is probably one of the more brutal years for roster turnover, because next year the COVID year is not a thing anymore, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're having a bunch of folks that are having to account for people that they, the last few years they haven't had to account for. And you've just got you have so much more roster turnover that is happening this particular year than it normally otherwise would. On
Yeah.
top of the fact that you've got Kirby Smart, who operates this team like almost like a professional sports team, kind of like Alabama was a few years back, and frankly, kind of still is. Where you're constantly recruiting over the kids that you have on staff, right? You're trying to find a kid that's better than what you have to make your team better. Either it's through depth or it's just through what our guys, the guys at Dog Central, they lovingly refer to as processed out.
Mhm. Yeah. Right.
You've been on campus a few years, you're a high profile recruit, and you haven't seen the field. You don't have to go home, but you got to get out of here.
Right. Right.
So you got a lot of that going on. I think even like on talking about the roster, like we've still got to get rid of. There's still like 12 guys that need to make a decision on whether or not they're going to stay or go or whatever. Like, well,
Yeah.
I guess I say that there's 12. We have to make room for 12 people. Like we have to make 12
Yeah.
spots disappear, basically.
Right. Yep. Yep. The roster management portion is about to come up after this game.
Right.
Well,
And you're gonna
okay.
start to find out about who's actually staying and who's actually going.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of the story of the games, is like who's gonna actually play for these teams. And right now it just doesn't look pretty for Florida State regardless.
Yeah, I agree. I would say like if you look at the numbers, you would maybe think Georgia would kind of run to set up the pass in this game. I don't know if we will or we won't, because that's what it looked like against Alabama. Heading into the game, that didn't work, and things didn't really click until we kind of started airing it out. So I don't know, man. I guess I'm going to look for. I would like to see us, I guess, open it up. Throw the ball to Dominic Lovett, throw the ball to Dylan Bell and Marcus Rosemy, Jack Saint, and let's just do this thing. I mean, we've got get Beck started off right in the new year, head into next year. So that's what I'll be looking for.
I wouldn't hate it. Just, I mean, Beck seems like he kind of wants to throw the ball, and I think that there's been some rumblings that that the coaches in the booth, they kind of want to open things up.
Yeah.
So
I'm for it. All for it. All right. Is that it for the offense? That's all I had.
that's all I got.
All right. All right. Well, before we move on to the defense, I want to take a quick moment to remind everyone that season 4 of My God, a Podcast is presented by Oxia Time. So we've talked about them a lot. Unfortunately, no 2023 playoff watches, but you can still head over to oxiatime.com. Still went back to back. They still got the 2021 National Championship Collection, 2022 National Championship Collection. Go check them out. John and I both have them. We heard Lad talk about how much he loved his in the pod as well. So head over to oxiatime.com. That's AXIATIME.com. And as always, you can use the code HUNKERDOWN to get 10% off your Oxia Time piece. All right. Let's talk about the defense. So what we're looking for when Florida State has the ball. Okay. Again, just the positions that I usually list out here, John, are the quarterback, the top 2 rushers, and the top 2 receivers. That's 5 players. If you look at Florida State's roster and the stats this season, none of those guys are playing in this game. So what they've got is their 3rd string quarterback, Brock Glenn. He's a freshman. He is 10 of 25 for 90 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions on the season. His only start was that ACC championship game against Louisville. That is because Rodemaker, I think, he was the backup. He's the one that played initially when Jordan Travis went down. He has opted out. He has entered the transfer portal. All right, the running backs, an even larger drop off. So comparing like the stats and who I saw on the Florida State depth chart, their 5th leading rusher is now going to be the leading running back, Keziah Holmes. He has 21 carries for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. The next best is their 7th leading rusher, Samuel Singleton Jr. He's a freshman, 6 carries, 52 yards. Their leading pass catcher that's playing in this game is their backup tight end. That's Kyle Morlock. He's a junior, 19 catches, 255 yards, 0 touchdowns. Their next leading receiver playing in this game is the 5th leading receiver, Ja'Kai Douglas. He's a junior, 12 catches, 230 yards, 0 touchdowns. However, if you look at their depth chart, they actually have him listed as a running back for this game. He has 0 rushes on the season, John, FYI. So, I mean, it is crazy. So, and back to your earlier point,
Crazy.
I don't like to be dismissive about stuff, but like when you're talking about like our offense and you're like, does it matter? I mean, their offensive roster is absolutely decimated. I have a hard time seeing how they're going to be able to score more points than we do, whatever we score. I mean, did you like watching that ACC championship game? It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
And I mean, they really struggled in that game against Louisville to score 16 points. They won that game 16-6. And that was, their first, or the only game with this Glenn kid starting at quarterback. So, I mean, and like you said, up until last week, they were preparing to go with Rodemaker. And then he opted out to go in the transfer portal. So it's going to be brutal.
Yeah. It could be a painful night early and often.
Yeah. And I mean, and that wasn't, the offense wasn't their strength. I would say, this team was built on defense. It's a very good defense. And then their offense was like good. It wasn't great, but it was good. But the cogs in that machine have been removed.
I like what you did there, Jim.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what to say or what to think. By and large, as the spread indicates, and I know we'll get to our scoring predictions. What's the spread? 15 points?
19.
It's grown. It was 15. Now it's 19.
Yeah, it's 19.
Holy smokes. Yeah, I think our friend of the show, Josh Mooney, made a comment on Twitter. Is that the point spread, or is that the number of players that have opted out?
I think it's both.
That's funny. Yeah, dude. I just it's one of those things like, hey man, let's just go take care of business and like give a narrative to give a narrative that the CFP probably would appreciate, that next year none of this is going to matter, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that they would love for us to come out and drub Florida State, and then they can say, see, they didn't deserve to be here.
Right. Right. I know, which is a disservice,
A
but
disservice.
but it's what's going to be said, if
Yeah.
that happens. I don't know, man. Like I do, the only thing here, like on this side of the ball, is going to be like that, like we talked about it earlier with like who's there, who's playing, who wants to be there. Like Florida State has all the motivation. I mean, I don't know. Are they motivated? Right? Are they motivated to say we're gonna prove everybody wrong kind of thing? Or are they like, man, we just don't even like we don't want to be here. We should be in the playoff, which I agree. I mean, we've talked about that, so we don't need to rehash that. I think they should be in the playoff. All these opt outs and everything, they would be playing if it was a playoff.
Right.
So, but the guys that are there, how are they going to treat this? And same for Georgia. How are our guys going to treat it? Are they, do they care? I mean, are they going to be motivated to win? And I think hopefully, Kirby has their minds right, and they've got the right mindset to go out. I mean, they do have a chance. I think if Georgia wins this game, the senior class does become the winningest class in the history of Georgia football. I think they're one win away. I think they're tied with last year's seniors right now. And if we win, I think that's right. I think if they win this game, they're the winningest senior class. So I mean, that's something for them right there. So hopefully that's enough. But on paper, their offense versus our defense looks brutal.
Just brutal.
So
yeah, I would say that so here's something that I'm curious about, like with the age of NIL, right?
mm,
Do these players have incentives to play in the bowl game that we may not be aware of? And maybe it's just that Georgia has done a better job of incentivizing its players through NIL to complete the season. It's kind of like it's kind of like baseball and football contracts, right? Like they have all these different incentives that they hit.
yeah,
If you play in the bowl game, you get XYZ dollars, kind of thing.
it's a good question, man. I have no idea, but that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that in the world that we're headed towards, I would not be surprised if that's not a thing. If it's
Yeah,
not all, I'd be surprised if that's not a thing more formally and publicly made aware than it is right now. Because I feel like, I mean, like, why? I guess like even if you were Brock Bowers, like, why would you, if you were going to be going to the NFL, like, I don't know. Increasingly, I feel like that this world that we live in is, you know, if you very clearly are going to be a top 10, pick
Mhm.
where the money is greatest, right? Like
Yeah,
most of those players are opting out
yeah. I mean, and it's going to
publicly.
become yeah, right, and it's going to become even more so next year. Because again, when the amount of playoff teams triples, it devalues the other bowl games even more so. So yeah, more change is coming. It's on the way. It's about to change forever. All right. I did have a few special teams notes on the specialist for Florida State. Both of their specialist kickers are actually playing in this game. So first position that we're saying that they will be there. So place kicker Ryan Fitzgerald is a junior. He is 18 of 20 on the season for field goals, perfect on point after attempts. And Alex Mastro Mano is a junior punter. He averages 45 ish, a little over 45 yards a punt. He was up for the Ray Guy. He was a Ray Guy finalist. And John, he is from Pro Kick, Australia. So, hey, we know at least they take punting seriously at Florida State. They do have an Australian punter. So that's good to know.
Do you think that like when Brett rolls up to these games, is he like, "Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you again,"
From what
or is he more likely, "Good day, mate"?
I mean, are they going to throw a shrimp on the Barbie? Like in a, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. Hey man, they're in Miami, so
I know
it'll
they
feel
might.
more like home.
Um, I don't know, man. The whole Pro Cricket Australia thing sounds kind of crazy because it's like these guys, like they all play Australian rules football. He actually played a couple of sports I saw. He played tennis and something else. But then they basically just like go and like it's not like they play on a team. Like they just practice and they just learn how to punt, and then they basically set
Right.
them up with scholarship. That's so crazy. So I don't know. I don't even know if they meet each other. Let's see. And then the return game, their kick returner is playing kickoff return, Deuce Spawn. He does have one kickoff return for a touchdown on the season. And then at punt returner, the leading punt returner is not playing. So they've got Ja'Kai Douglas. I mentioned him earlier. He has returned one punt on the season for -2 yards. And, preview, spoiler alert, we're going to have a coaches over under about that coming up in a minute.
Okay.
Also, question for you, John. We're going to see who's going to return kicks for Georgia. We talked about Mackay's in the portal. So the kick-off returner behind Mackay on the season was Dylan Bell. And then Anthony Evans has had 2 punts returned. The only one I really remember was the SEC championship game one. But so I don't know. Is Anthony Evans the punt returner now?
I would think that we're going to see more Anthony Evans.
I mean, shoot, I'm excited for that, honestly. He looked like he was shot out of a cannon on that one punt return in Atlanta.
He appeared to be ready to go.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Shall we hit the listener questions?
Let's do it, Jim.
All right. First up, John Michael D. Oh, wait. Listener questions are brought to you by Working Web Media. So go check them out. We've talked about, we wanted to redo our website in the off season. We reached out to Working Web Media and they made that happen for us. So if you've got a small business, you need some help with your website, your online presence, head over to Working Web Media and see if they can help you out. You can do that by going to workingwebmedia.com/dogs. That's DAWGS. And then they will know that we sent you their way. So yeah, also, check out the newly redesigned mygodapodcast.com. We had all our merch on there, including the hats that John and I are both wearing right now. All right. Let's see, JP. So first up, John Michael D. First, he said, thanks to the whole Christmas regale crew. That was fun. That was fun and cathartic for me as well to listen along. I keep pulling a Jim and telling myself, remember that time we went back to back and everything is great again. Agreed. He said, second, do we get a Kirby rage stroke? And then he said, if we do, he said starters or not, if so. I think I interpreted that as if we get a Kirby rage stroke, does he rage stroke on the starters or on the reserves?
Both.
You can't say things like this to me now because it makes me cough.
Push.
Oh, sorry. That's good. I'm gonna go with shoot. I don't know, man. I feel like he's the raised strokes have been minimal this season, so who knows? Maybe it's bowl season and he's just gonna let it fly.
He's like Zen. He's like Zen Kirby Smart.
I know he's like this has been a different Kirby this season.
Although maybe we need more rage strokes.
Maybe he's like, we lost the SEC championship because I didn't rage stroke enough, and I'm changing that right now. I can see it.
Yes.
I can totally see it.
He's gonna pull that old Nick Saban quote from earlier this year when he was like, Did you see me yell at him? Did you see me get into him over there?
Nice. Could be.
That was basically what he said.
Got it. We got a couple questions actually about looking forward to next year. First from Craig Lawson. He actually didn't ask a Bobo question. I'm kind of surprised. Craig says, initial thoughts on the Clemson game. Are y'all going, and who will be running back 1 in Atlanta? I mean, it's too far away for me to commit, but I would love to go to that game.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely too far away to commit, but it's on my radar. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
If nothing else, I have been known to go to the neutral site games and just tailgate. So
yeah,
we did that with Oregon, and that was fun.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that Oregon game was a blast. I would love to run it back. I like going to games in Atlanta. So hopefully I'll be there. I don't know. I'm gonna have a freshman in college, so I don't know what next fall is gonna look like. It's going to be very weird. So
Oh, that's just weird.
yeah, yeah. Not at Georgia, by the way. Not at Georgia.
Still, that's weird.
So and then who'll be running back one? I mean the early leader has to be Etienne, honestly. I mean, he's the most experienced back we're gonna have, right? So
Right.
I mean, I guess we don't know. I guess technically Milton and or Dejan could come back technically because if they both have the COVID year. I haven't heard any rumblings that either one would, but I'm just throwing that out there. So if neither of them come back, which I don't expect either of them to, I would have to say Etienne.
Yeah, that's fair. That's probably a fair statement there.
Okay.
I mean, you got a number of guys. You got Andrew Paul, you got Branson Robinson,
Yep.
Broderick Robinson,
Yeah.
Roderick
Right. Yeah.
Robinson.
Right.
And then you've got some really talented incoming freshmen.
Yeah.
There's at least one running back. I can't remember the guy's name. Let's say it's Phillips or something like that. But he's like a 4.2. He's 4.2 speed, right? Like
Yeah.
we haven't had a guy that fast at the running back position in a long time.
Yeah. 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 For sure. For sure. Let's see. All right. Next up,
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting for running back university next year.
it will be. It will be for sure. Let's see. Chad Jarvis also said, how do our recent transfers make you guys feel for next year? And I guess we kind of hit on that in the open a little bit. I mean, I feel like, I guess they feel good.
We did. And if you are like me and have been like looking for the defensive line, transfers, because you've been concerned about the defensive line, or you're looking for the offensive line transfers because you've been concerned about the offensive line. Like I was concerned with the trenches after the SEC championship game, and John Tweets was kind enough to kind of showcase to me, like, the offensive linemen that are coming in. It's one of the heaviest lines. Like we've got one of the heaviest incoming recruiting classes for the offensive line in history, I feel like. I think that Barstool actually did a video. One of their social media posts was a video that explicitly was calling out how large our offensive line was coming in. So we have some dudes coming in on offensive line to go with the dudes that we do have and that are going to be around next year. On top of that, you've got some guys at defensive line that are equally as large, and they're definitely going to be making an impact. And then we've got a guy coming in from the transfer portal that is going to be making me feel good. So, the caveat there is that, yes, we've got some dudes coming in on the offensive line. That usually takes time. Like you don't typically start as a true freshman along the offensive line unless you're truly, a player. Defensive line's a little bit different story. But I mean, for me, like the transfers coming in, London Humphreys, he's by and large basically like he's like a 6'3", I think, something
Yeah,
like
he's
that.
tall, man. He's
Yeah,
pretty big.
he's a big dude. And we have another guy coming in, the Colby Young. He's another like incredibly tall guy. And last time we got a transfer from Miami, that worked out pretty good. Can he come in and put together a Lawrence Cager type season? So, we've got some great pieces coming in from a wide receiver standpoint. All signs so far seem to point that Beck is going to be coming back. And so he's going to have some weapons. He's going to have some allies and assets. Etienne coming in. I'm a little bit not quite as sold on Etienne, but if nothing else, he's going to be good depth, right? Like if he can't take over the starting role, then
Right.
he will represent a quality depth piece. And as we've seen at UGA, we tend to rotate, 2-3 running backs, right? So
Yeah.
we need depth at that position. There is what's the kid's name? Jalen Reddell or Reddell?
Yeah, I don't know how to. I
Um,
don't have a pronunciation guide yet, but yeah,
yeah, there was a picture that was posted of all of the freshmen that are or the incoming freshmen that are actually with the team right now practicing, and Jalen Riddell, number 89 in the picture that you'll look at on the far left is a large human being. I mean, I was just
yeah,
flabbergasted by how big this guy's helmet was. He looks like he's going to be a dude. Trigger Trey in the text thread is really hype on Daniel Harris. He's been sending us some video clips of Daniel Harris in practice. So yeah, I mean, I think that I mean we're just reloading at this point.
yeah. I agree. I agree. I mean, number one recruiting class and got some of the best players that were available in the portal. I
Yeah,
think it's impressive. I mean, it's the world we live in today, and I know it's hard when you see the guys go in the portal because like there's an emotional thing, and we've always loved this school, and I don't want to say like that they don't love the school either. It's a foreign concept to me, but I don't know. I'm not in their shoes, so it's hard to comprehend, but it's not really comprehensible to me. So I can't like compare. I actually wouldn't mind having a conversation with George about that at some point, but later conversation.
yeah. I mean, we've got some dudes coming in. I mean, we had guys that were playing. We had true freshmen playing inside linebacker.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and that's a kind of like the offensive line. That's not something that's normal. And those guys played so well that it caused Dumas Johnson to take a look at his options and say, I'm probably better off leaving. And that was one of the more emotional ones for me personally,
yeah,
was seeing that level of starter who very clearly was an impact player for us on the defense leave. But
yeah.
then you look at why he left, and it's most likely because he felt like he wasn't going to be able to play as much as he wants to play. So
Yep.
a lot of these guys are leaving because of playing time.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Agreed. All right, let's see. Fletcher Proctor. Let's just oh, I know you have an opinion on this one. Let's assume you caught one of the oranges Kirby throws out after we beat FSU by 30. Do you use the orange to make freshly squeezed OJ, slice it up for use in a blue moon, or make an old fashioned? What are you doing, JP?
I'm encasing it in some form of epoxy to preserve it for all time.
This is amazing. I like how you went with none of the above. That works. The funny thing was, okay, shockingly we agree, but I wasn't as diabolical as you. Because my initial thought was, man, I want to keep that orange.
Yeah, seriously.
Because you know how I am. I keep everything.
Yes.
Ooh, man. Yeah, now that's a good idea. You could do like a shadow, you could do like the epoxy, like you put it in like a table or whatever.
Yeah, you put it on a table.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I could make a table that's a centerpiece and there's an orange just like floating in the middle.
Yes.
Oh, that's totally the answer. Totally.
Yeah, dude, that's what you could do. You could throw like I don't know, throw your confetti, your oranges, like, tickets. Like, I'm surprised
Yes.
you haven't done something like this.
Oh, I have things saved. I just need to do it.
Nice.
Yes, I have plans for some of the things I've got. Okay. We have arrived at the correct answer.
A dogwood project.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's coming eventually. So let's see. Fletcher, he also added Georgia Hoops has proven they can win 7 in a row. Watch out, March. So yeah, Mike White has the Hoop Dogs cooking. Looking pretty good. They report the men's and women's teams. If you're not going to Miami, if you're in the Athens area, there's a doubleheader on Saturday this weekend, actually. We can go see both teams play in the Steg. So I'm excited for conference play to start. We'll see if the team can keep us rolling in conference play. Let's see. Brett Belding. Merry Christmas. 1. assuming Florida State wins the lawsuit, do they end up in the SEC or Big Ten, and why? So this is the whole they're trying to allegedly, or I don't know, maybe it's not even allegedly anymore. But there's that whole like grant of rights deal that the ACC has with all of their teams, where like they owe the ACC like a crazy amount of money if they leave. I don't know. I mean, geographically, the SEC obviously makes sense. Do they make sense academically with the Big Ten, John? Because the Big Ten claims they need high academic standards, although I don't know that they're really flexing that anymore with all their new additions.
Oh, I don't know. I got nothing.
It's got to be the SEC to me.
It's got to be the SEC. I mean,
I don't want them at this point. I don't want to. We've grown enough. I don't want to add anyone. This is just me yelling at air and clouds. I don't want to add anyone without removing somebody. And that's probably dumb to say because that's not how it's going to work. But
it's not how it's going to work. Dude,
16 is enough.
Vanderbilt is just surfing along, man. They're just hanging 10 on this wave. They're like, man, we made the best decision ever.
Yeah, seriously. I don't know. If there's any geographic sense left in college football, Florida State has to go to the SEC and not the Big Ten. That's my reasoning. I don't assume that anyone has it though. So I guess that's my hope though. Right. And then he said, related, does our home and home in 27 and 28 survive whatever is about to happen? He said, I really want to go to Doak for a game. I'll say,
how amazing would it be that we go to Doak for a game before we go to College Station?
Oh, that would be hilarious. Oh man. I don't know, man. I mean, I would say if they come to the SEC before then, it 100% gets canceled because we saw what happened with Oklahoma, unless they figure out a way to work that into the schedule. So, but I don't know. I wouldn't keep my hopes up.
Yeah, I would say that anything beyond 3 years is probably up for debate.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see, 51-7 GATA. As we get ready for the Dogs' final game of the season, was there something about the season that really surprised y'all in a positive or negative way?
I'll let you answer this one before I throw my cynical answer out.
Uh-oh.
It's not really cynical. I'll go first. How about that?
Okay.
Something that really surprised me from the game. We have yet to have a stat for punt returns.
Well, I mean, that is
something that surprises me. By definition, that is my answer.
Okay, that is incredible. Yes, that is the right answer. I'm trying to think of what else. I would say my surprise maybe is Dylan Bell and like how he was utilized and the way he was utilized throughout the year. I thought was pretty cool. I got like super excited when I heard about like, hey, maybe switching to running back, and then like that actually happened for a bit. And then for him to have the game he had at Tennessee, I thought was pretty cool. So I'll go with that. I'll go with Dylan Bell. It's a positive, obviously.
Yeah, I guess the other negative thing that I would say would be if I told you before the season, where were your stats at? I know you got them up here. I could probably just Google them, but if I were to tell you before the season that Carson Beck would complete almost 73% of his passes, throw for almost 4,000 yards, and that Dejon Edwards and Kendall Milton would combine for, over 1,400 rushing yards, Brock Bowers would be Brock Bowers, as he always is. And if I were to tell you all those numbers, like, would you think that we would be in the CFP? And our defense, continues to do its defense thing. That's the only thing that surprises me is that we're not in the CFP because there's there's no convincing me that we weren't one of the four best teams in the country this year. So that in that regard, it is a little surprising that we have to, quote unquote, to settle for playing another team that got hosed out of the CFP.
Yeah,
This
I mean,
is this is like the this is like the screw you guys, I'm going home bowl.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. I mean, I would even take it just to the record. Like if you had told me before the season that we'd be sitting here at 12-1, not in the playoff, I'd be like, what? What do you mean? Even with that loss being the SEC championship, every season is different, but 2021 was different. I don't know.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. All right. Last up, British Bulldog. British Bulldog, what are your dog wishes for the new year?
Ooh. Deep thoughts on Christmas Eve.
I know. I mean, like, how greedy can I be?
You can be as greedy as you want to be, Jim. It's a podcast.
I mean, like, I feel like, is it almost like wrong to wish for Brock Bowers to come back?
That would be, yeah, he didn't ask for dog miracles, Jim.
All right. So here's the one I'll say for this one. Maybe like one of, and I'm going to say this because they keep teasing us on social media. I need either Kamari Lassiter or Javon Bullard to come back after all this run it back talk on Instagram.
Yeah, seriously.
that's my New Year's wish.
Yeah, it's like big perm or big worm in Friday. Like, you're messing with my emotions, folks.
Exactly. Oh man.
Yeah, I would say that having from a dog's perspective, like having those guys come back, I would say that starting the new year with although technically we're not going to be in the new year, but having this win kick off a string of consecutive wins that bests our previous streak would be a nice way to start things off.
Okay. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'll give it that.
Ditto.
Amazing.
Yeah, wishes for the new year. Lock down Kirby Smart for forever. Trying to think. Yeah, I mean, having all those guys come back from having Bullard is for sure. Like, I definitely agree with you on that one. Having Bullard come back would be the defensive equivalent of having Brock Bowers come back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So for me, like that would be great. I love Javon and his off the field persona just as much as I like his on field persona. So
yeah,
that would make me very happy as well.
All right, I'll add one more. No more names in the transfer portal.
Honestly, you can't really say that because we've kind of lose 12.
That math though, that was from Lamar, or he saw that somewhere and sent that over. That was not accounting for graduation or NFL at all. That math. So yeah, we need 12 seniors to depart, basically, or players declare for the draft. I feel like that's not unreasonable. So
fair.
For my emotions, I don't want anyone else in the portal, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, are you ready, John?
I'm ready.
Oh my God!
My God, a freshman.
Trying to put glasses on him.
It is time for Coach Trillbill's over-unders, Orange Bowl versus Florida State edition. JP, I'm in the lead. But man, dude, there were a lot of preseason over-unders. There were like 12. So you're definitely still in the hunt. I know you kept saying like I had this massive lead, but for my math, I did some mathing earlier today. Not over. So
You were mathing to prep for this to see if you needed to just push on everything.
Exactly. I was gonna just copy everything you said, and I was
Yes.
like, I don't know. I think I might actually have to like just answer them. I don't think like trying to hold you to arm's length would work technically. So, all right. So I'll start us off. I'll go first. So on the offensive side, over under 2.5 passing touchdowns for Georgia. I'm gonna go over.
I will also go over.
Okay, over to you. Players with the catch, over under 6.5.
I'm gonna go over.
Ooh, agreed. Over. Yes, nice. For me, players with a rush attempt, over under at 4.5. Man, that's pretty good. I'm gonna go under.
I'm gonna go over.
Okay. All right, your turn. Under the defense, Florida State 3 and outs, over under 6.5.
I'm gonna go under.
Me too. That is a lot. I feel like that's a lot. I don't know. We'll see.
It feels like a lot. I mean,
It's gonna be like 6 or 7 exactly.
7 punts sounds like a lot.
And then let's see. So wait, me. Okay, my turn. Excuse me. Over under 3.5 sacks by the Georgia defense. I'm gonna go over. Okay, we went at the same time and agreed. And then forced turnovers by the defense, over under 1.5. Hold on. All right, this one's you. All right, 1.5 forced over. Man, we need that to be over. I'm gonna go over as well.
I figure the third string quarterback's gonna make some unforced errors.
Right. The over under of the year, John. Special teams. Florida State punt returns, over under 0.5. Can the streak stay alive?
Push. Under.
I'm going under because we got to keep it alive. We got to keep the streak alive.
That streak is not going to get touched. I mean, has there been a team in college football history that has never had to defend a punt return? Like, has never
an entire season, bowl game included?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
like, what's the streak? What's the streak on that? Like that?
Yeah,
how has this not come up?
I don't know.
We need to like tweet at. We need to tweet at the broadcast crew and say, "Hey, y'all, you need to get some folks on this stat here."
Seriously. All right, and then the miscellaneous college football playoff standings mentioned during the game, over under at 10.5. Also, coach gave some advice on this one. Don't make it a drinking game, because you will not survive the game.
How are we characterizing that? Because like is it just like, hey, the Georgia Bulldogs didn't make the Final Four? Like, is that count as CFP standings? Like, I don't understand. I don't know how to interpret this one. I need to defer to you on your reading of this.
Yeah, I mean, whenever they mention the standings for the playoff, like they're going to mention anything around the standings. They're gonna be pushing the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl constantly. Anytime they mention that, that counts. Yeah.
I don't know. 10.5 sounds pretty high.
Okay.
Is it to me?
Why can't I count? Yes, it's you.
I'll go under.
Okay. I'm going to go under because I'm not going to let that be the difference in the thing. Because coach would never hear the end of it. Because you
shenanigans.
All right. Shout out to coach. Coach was at the Regale or the Regale, whatever you call it. We'll do more research before we do that again. But thanks, coach, for tracking those as always. All right. Let's do the predictions. And as we do the predictions, reminder, head out to homefield.mygodapodcast.com. Go get your home field apparel. Excellent vintage logos, everything out there. And you can use the code HunkerDown there as well. to get 15% off your first order. I actually know several people have used code Hunker Down during their Christmas shopping. So shout out to everyone who did so. Appreciate it. I will say I know my sister got a new bomber jacket for Christmas from my brother-in-law. So
You got a bomber
out.
jacket? Nice.
yeah. So she sent me a picture. The new bomber jacket. Pretty sweet. All right. So CBC R2 Sam, our friends over at Chubba Bell Curve, have this game. Georgia 27.3 to Florida State 16.3. What I don't know about any of these models, John, is are they taking opt-outs into play? We would have to ask Dogquant. I don't know. Maybe Dogquant hit us up, let us know. Oddshark has this game, Georgia favored by 19, the over-under at 44.5. So that gives an implied score of Georgia 31.75 to Florida State 12.75. Dude, their predicted score is wild. Georgia 38.4 to Florida State 34.8. And then the college football nerds, their model has Georgia 25.4 to Florida State 19.9. So some of these models have this game pretty close. And then the scoring impact, again, that actually has this really tight too, but that is strictly based on what the teams have done. So I won't go into all of it, but if our scoring impact model has Georgia 25.53 to Florida State 22.09. Again, that's if you apply like our offensive impact and defensive impact to their averages. So I will say, I think it comes down to motivation here. One thing I didn't think about, or I forgot to say earlier when we were talking about their offense, and this is for coach as well, because I know he wanted us to reference the 0-2 Sugar Bowl. Back in that game, Florida State was having a quarterback crisis as well. I want to say like Chris Ricks had like slept and missed a final or something and was academically ineligible for that game, I think, if I remember right. And like, so they had to play a backup quarterback, but they actually, Anquan Bolden was on that team and he ended up playing quarterback a bit. So I am curious, will they do something like that? Will they take a receiver and run some Wildcat or something like that? See something like that maybe for a spark? I don't know. So just one other thing to watch for. I could see them doing something like that. But I don't know, man. It comes down to motivation. But with all their opt-outs, I don't see how they can score more points than us. I've got a little bit lower scoring. I've got Georgia 27-6.
27-6. Even with the missing some of their leading defensive players too.
Yeah. They are missing some leaders, but they don't have as many opt-outs on defense.
I mean, the scores on this thing are like all over the place, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
What's the, maybe am I missing it here? Where's the CBC? Oh, there it is. CBC. But all these stats have everything like with all of prior to opt-outs. I don't know. I'm gonna stick with the Vegas, with what Vegas, all things being equal, Vegas doesn't like to lose money. I'm gonna go 32-12.
Nice. I like it. I almost did that myself. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
All right. I did want to get what are your picks for the playoff games? So you got Rose Bowl, Alabama, Michigan, New Year's Day. Michigan is still favored in this game. Michigan's favored by 1.5.
That's bull. Sorry, Carter. I can't even with this. Like, Alabama's gonna win that game, dude.
Yeah, I agree. What about Texas, Washington? Texas favored by 4.
I believe that Washington's gonna win that game.
Really?
Yes.
I like
And
that.
then Alabama's gonna beat Washington, unfortunately.
All right, I'm gonna go Texas because I think Texas has a better shot at beating Alabama. And I don't want Alabama to win. No offense.
even if Texas wins, that sets up Alabama versus Texas rematch, which that doesn't bode well for rematches.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate everything right now with that.
I'm walking it back. Michigan's beating Alabama.
I
I'm
mean,
changing all of my picks. I just changed all my picks. I'm going Michigan, Washington for the Natty
I would love for
because I want to.
I would love for Michigan and Washington to play for the Natty and for Washington to win it. Just so that we can tell everybody that they congratulations on winning your bowl. Just like we did.
Right, right. Good stuff. All right, man. Well, another bowl game preview. I'll be down there. Lily and I are flying down the day before, flying home New Year's Eve. So we will enjoy the festivities in the Miami area and be down there to root the dogs on. Lily will be sporting her new Jake Fromm jersey that she got for Christmas. That was actually one of the things she asked for. I don't think she thought that I remembered, and she was pretty happy. She was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys actually got me a Jake Fromm jersey."
That's awesome.
So she'll be sporting that. So
I hope that you'll share the pictures with us.
yes, we'll do. So
that's awesome. I am sort of jealous, but not really, because what's the weather's gonna be pretty decent down there, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be like 60s.
Yeah, but it is Miami, and I don't know that Miami is my vibe, but I have a feeling you're gonna have fun.
Yeah,
Regardless,
we're staying like right over by the stadium, so I think we're gonna hit like the, whatever you call it, like game day facilities type things down there. So see if there's like a fanfare type thing. Go check that out.
Is there a tailgate meetup like there usually is?
Yeah, I don't think so. And actually, I thought Greg was planning to go at one point, but he's not. I don't even know if I told you this. Did I tell you that I went out for drinks with Greg on Friday?
I saw the pictures.
Okay. Yeah. Greg and I, we finally hung out at home without going to a Charlotte event or something. So we went to the local sports bar right by my house. Had some beers and appetizers Friday night. But yeah, so he's not going to the game. I think Rodeo's going though. So I don't know.
I think there was a group of folks that are getting one of those like cabana setups or whatever.
I did see that mentioned at one point. We're not in that. We're not in that.
You're not in the cabana?
No. We do have our tickets secured. So
that's awesome.
Shout out for
man, you guys are gonna have fun. I know you're gonna enjoy yourselves down there, a little father-daughter trip. So
yeah.
In that regard, I am very jealous.
Well, but
we will be in Asheville.
I would say you're not gonna be in a bad setting. So
yes. Yeah, we're heading to Asheville tomorrow. Yes, it's still 11:30 tomorrow. We're heading to Asheville tomorrow, and then there's some debate on when we're coming back. So I may be watching the game on Saturday up there somewhere, maybe at a brewery or something, or I'll be watching it at home after we return.
Got it. Nice. Well, you'll have to. I'm curious if you are still there. I want pictures of wherever you watch the game, because I'm interested to see how that goes.
Because you're like, I don't know if they have TVs.
No, I just want to see like the setup. I actually think I'm sure you can find a pretty cool place. I would actually think so.
Yeah, I need to figure that out. I think it's largely going to come down to how tomorrow and Friday go for us as a family being up there.
Got it. Well, cool. Well, enjoy Asheville. I always love visiting there. So I'm sure you'll have a great time.
It's good times. It's supposed to be nice and chilly up there. I believe that we saw that it was going to be potentially in the 20s. So we'll see.
Nice. Well, you're sticking through. You're not opting out.
Grab some bourbon and not opt out of the bowl game.
Perfect. Well, it was a little dicey. I was already thinking through who could fill in for me if I wasn't able to do this. Glad we didn't have to get to that. Thanks for flexing on the date with me, JP. I definitely couldn't have done
Yes.
this yesterday.
No substitutes, no exchanges.
Too good. All right. Well, hey, we'll see what version of these teams show up on Saturday.
Yeah, man. We'll do a little spike the football. I'm hoping for a spike the football on the season. Show everybody what they missed out on, what they largely unimpacted Georgia team. Showcasing what they can do against a how do you say, not hobbled but portaled Florida State team.
Yeah.
But yeah, I expect us to roll the victory on this one and have Kirby tossing out oranges for everybody to save.
Amazing. Love it.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the trip. When are you passing through Atlanta?
When am I
passing through? Are you passing through Atlanta?
Direct
It's a
flight.
Direct flight. Okay.
Yep. No passing through. Yep. So
That's
just a
fancy.
few hour flight.
They're fancy in Charlotte being able to fly direct to Miami. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to the pictures. You guys have fun, and as always, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.